Good afternoon, Alex.
Afternoon.
Your O-line group, just how do you feel about it after going through the preseason camp with the depth that you guys have developed, the new bodies coming in, how they've come along, a guy like Jazz being a swing possibility if he's not a starter? Just where do you feel that group is going into game one?
Well, we have true competition where, you know, even though, there's a depth chart out, but the guys are still fighting for those opportunities, which keep bringing the best out of all those guys, So I feel better at that aspect of the competition. Also, the guys that are able to play multiple spots. That was a big thing. We've kind of been swapping those guys out a bunch here late in camp once they got kind of acclimated to the system and things like that. So having multiple guys that can go in there and not have that drop-off be steep as we've had. So just more competition. I think guys have grown a lot more and kind of answered the bell, and I've been proud of the cohesiveness of the group.
I know Bless is listed, I think, as the starting right tackle. I guess, is that where you envisioned him when you brought him in? I guess, how impressed have you been with a guy making the jump he has to be where he is and position himself so well?
Well, no, I mean, Bless has done a good job of showcasing and coming in and learning it pretty quickly, which kind of put him in position to possibly start and be a guy for us. He's actually taken a bunch of reps at left this week also. We put him in guard a couple of times too. So now that he's comfortable in the offense, being able to be multiple and things like that, we put him at one position to be able to learn it, just so they can kind of showcase themselves instead of trying to think and too much. But once they have it, that's when you can kind of start, moving those pieces and where they still have an understanding of the concepts we're trying to run. But now Bless is to step in and kind of be thrown in like he was. He's done a good job answering the bell.
How many guys have you had in your career that have played all 5 spots on the O-line? And is it the mental part? How difficult is that, knowing the job of all of those roles? Yeah,
it's unfair. When they first get in early, you try to keep them in one position, just to learn the details and what it takes just to be out there. We're very multiple, so you try to keep them in so they can just learn it and feel comfortable. And then after that, it's more challenging. Like I've had plenty of guys do it. Even John LeGlue. I was just talking to him the other day. He played for me at Tulane, and we're playing for the Steelers right now. He played tackle, guard, and center. He can play all 5, and that's kind of helped him now. Still be on that roster here lately. So I think that I don't want to inconvenience them where they're trying to play multiple spots and don't even know the concepts of what we're trying to teach. So once they get acclimated, I get them in a position, I let them play that position, and once they learn, they say, oh, okay, now I know if I'm at this tackle, if I'm at this guard, if I have to go do this. So just giving them a chance to be able to showcase themselves, but also, man, I've had, I have gotten better as a coach learning that you have to be able to keep the best 5 out there regardless of position. So that has helped me grow and do a better job of making sure I prepare guys to be able to do that.
Darius played some center last year, and now he's being asked to play again.
Yep.
All the check calls that the center makes for the offensive line, that acclimation. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, yeah, most of the time, the center makes the calls just because he's right in the middle. He can talk to both sides. So he's able to talk clearly to communicate. But we've also had a lot of emphasis, when Maurice played earlier, we didn't allow him to make too many calls. We've had times where guard made calls. We've had times where, tackles communicated when we had, other guys that are going to center. Now, Darius has been in the offense for a while. So his understanding of concepts is elite. I mean, he's played pretty much now, you talk about all 5, he has now entered where he's played all 5 positions for us. So that's another guy to talk about that kind of, once you learn it, and you learn the concepts, whether it's gap scheme, zone scheme, half slide, full slide, how we check protections and things like that, you're able to have a little more comfort level. So, Darius will be fine because he knows it and he understands it, and he's been on both sides of it, from left tackle to right tackle to guards and things like that. So I have a lot of confidence in Darius being able to execute that. But you also, next to vets, you got Dylan Gibbons, who's going to his second year, he's going to be on the field with them. You got Rob Scott, who's going to be out there that can play both tackle positions like he's done. So you got some older guys that's been out there to be able to direct some of that stuff if he's having a little bit of trouble seeing it, but I don't envision that happening.
Before you were offensive coordinator, I think you said that Coach Norvell takes input from the entire staff when putting together game plans and things like that.
Correct.
But when you're as offensive coordinator, I mean, do you get 2 votes, or what's different now in terms of those conversations between you and Coach Norvell?
Well, yeah, Coach has kept it, where we all have input and we all have our certain sections of the game plan that we put in, and that's our project. And that's our job, to come in there with the ideas that kind of fits within our scheme of what our players can do. And we come and present those areas, and he's kind of the overseer. I'm more just trying to make sure it's on a schedulely, timely matter, organizing it and making sure we got the right guys in the right positions, kind of handling that. But as far as how we run the offense, Coach, I mean, he's always had it set up where everybody has a lot of input. and kind of just your baby in the game plan, like whether it's short yardage, whether it's third and medium, whether it's third and long, whether it's goal line and things like that. So just making sure you have ownership in yours, and then once you have ownership in yours, going a little bit step beyond, and now you can, once I take care of my job, now I can sit in the meetings with the other guys that's doing other areas and kind of learn, as we go. It's like, hey, I might, so when I would say, all right, I got the short yardage down, that was my position. I've done that, now let me sit in here when they're doing third and long, and being an O-line coach, you're in all of them. You got protection, all of it. So I've always been involved in all of it, but not much has changed in that role except just more of the organization.
How impressive have you been by Jordan? I know you've always been impressed by Jordan. And I think in the spring you said this is Jordan's offense, kind of, you guys are really tailoring things to what he does well and what he can do well. But has he taken things to a different level this preseason, and what's impressed you?
Full ownership. Because, going back to what we talked about earlier, guys being in the same system for a while. So he understands what we're trying to accomplish, and he understands the skill set of the guys around him. So, anytime you can, sometimes coaches, we get a little bit too much credit. We send a play in, it might be the wrong play. If you got a quarterback that can get us in the right play, that's a big-time deal. So we give Jordan full range out there. I mean, he can do what he's comfortable with and what he sees out there. And having that trust to be out there going the field, just like in, all levels of the profession, when you have a quarterback that has the eyes of the coaches, it helps a bunch. It saves you, it saves you a couple of times too, because, they get us out of trouble more than we get them out of trouble. So having that weapon and watching his maturity in that aspect has been phenomenal. Like, I can't even describe how far he's come mentally in the game.
Coach, you mentioned how for your unit it's really important that everybody is excited for the other guy having success. It needs to be like a genuine, sincere sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
How do you foster that, and how have you seen that kind of come to fruition here this preseason?
Well, we met about just not being fake. We're not building an all-star team because we had a lot of additions, so we had to address that early. Like, let's talk about this now in here. So the first thing has to be established is relationships. We got to say, all right, do we genuinely build relationships with each other, or is it just we're in the same team, we're in the same locker room, so we have to be friends? No, it doesn't work like that. So you have to spend time, and we try to manufacture some of that, but when they get outside of these walls, they got to actually, build relationships with each other. And I think we have some guys that really made a point to do that, to kind of go out of their comfort zone, out of their normal circles, and really reach out past the guys that they might have came in with, say, hey, this guy just got here, I'm going to reach to him, and I'm going to go through the playbook with him. I'm going to go eat dinner with him, manufacture these deals. We read a book this summer, which I thought was really good because we didn't do it by position. We did it in groups of different positions. So, they had spent that time with each other and things like that. There was little unique deals you try to do created, but we talked about we don't want to be fake, because it's not going to work. It's going to run its course, and it's going to be bad if you're genuinely not wanting somebody else to succeed. So it goes without saying, but they have, that's one of the hardest things to do when you're building a team. So I appreciate them listening to it and addressing it early and really working those relationships so we can move forward and get past those little scuffles and things like that we have genuine relationships.
Looking at the running back room, I think only 2 guys are listed as starters, but I don't know how much that means just with I know how deep you kind of see that room is. How encouraged are you about what you've seen? From those 3 guys, but also from Rodney and even Josh Burrell in his last week or so there.
What I like about the running backs, if they all didn't wear numbers, they all can go out there, and they all can bring something special, and uniquely they've all done a good job of understanding the concept. So, we don't even have to say, oh, this guy's in here because this is the power back, the speed back. We don't have to do any of that because all those guys are special. They picked it up so quickly. Even the young guys growing up with Rodney, you watch him make some plays here, so his confidence is growing in the scheme. But that's how confident I am in that group where, they all can go out there with the same number on. I'm good with all of them playing.
Coach, let me ask about you. Some coordinators come to the job as quarterbacks. Some people come to the job as offensive linemen, in your case. How do you think that affects your view of the play calling and the game strategy?
Yeah, I always want to make sure that everything is through the lens of the players. That's the main thing, no matter, regardless of position as a coordinator. Now, normally because of my position, I probably see things more inside out, just because that's how I'm used to studying the game, and I forced myself to see it from outside in when I took my first coordinator role before I came to FSU. But the reality of it is you better understand your personnel and what they're capable of before you talk about what play you're going to run or what you do. And, you know, what's so special about you is you better make sure those players understand it and it fits what they do and they're able to showcase their ability. So one thing that drew me to Coach Norvell is that's been the case. I've seen Coach Norvell run multiple offenses because he has multiple different type of quarterbacks, running backs. You know, when he had better running backs, you saw the running game. So I like that the offense is built for the players, and it's adjusted to the players to put them in the best position to be successful. Before you talk about, you know, position or what you see or how you see the game, you better see those players first.
What does Duquesne do defensively, and any particular players that kind of caught your attention watching film?
Well, one thing I think, you know, looking at Duquesne, you know, they got a new coordinator coming in, Coach Craig, but what I like is that I think he's more of a dictator. He doesn't really, you know, I know he's going to study us and put his game plan together, but I think he likes to dictate his defense. You know, he wants to run, he's going to run and make you adjust to him, which is a good scheme to have. You know, and he's had success everywhere he's been, and now he's returning back where he originally coached linebacker. So I like the way he's attacking. You know, and like most defenses, everything goes in waves. The big thing now is playing coverage and trying to stop the run with the run twist and things like that. That's most defenses are kind of going through that right now with trying to stop the RPO game, the big plays. So I think he'll have some of that in his adjustments like most do. But I think he's more of a dictator. He tries to say, hey, I'm going to dictate your protection. I'm going to dictate what I want you to do and dictate your checks, and then I'm going to come off of that. So trying to be more attacking is kind of his style. I like that a bunch. Now, he's new, so we've been watching a lot of personnel cut-ups from Duquesne a year before, but he has some pieces to work with. You know, they got some experience at the D-line with Big Maxie, and they got a guy that can move, whether it be outside linebacker or in the box. So I expect him to be in full attack mode.
Anything else for Coach? All right. Thank you.
Thank y'all.